right, we're here at the FINIS HQ, and I'm with John Mix, and my name is Zach. And today we're going to be talking about FINIS's portfolio of fins, training fins. So, John, tell me about the FINIS training fins line and why we have so many options here.
Okay. On the table today, we have 6 fins, and the benefit of having so many different types of fins is specificity in training really is everything. So there's not one fin that works perfectly for everybody. In many years past, I think the most frequent thing I would see on the pool deck is many swimmers had 2 or 3 different styles of fins in their bag, so that the coach could very specifically say, okay, right now we want to work on this. Let's bring out your short fins. There was a time where many coaches would have the swimmers with many different types of fins in their bag. And the purpose of many different types of fins was that the coach could be really specific for what they want to work on. Are we working on, lengthening our stroke? Are we working on our turns and our walls? Kicking the underwaters off our starts? What are we really working on? And then be able to really be specific with that approach.
Great. Well, if there was one fin that you wanted to start with that was super popular, widely used, what would that fin be? And what would you say about it?
Wow. The long floating fin is your fin that it benefits almost every swimmer in the world should have these in their bag. The only ones that might not have it in their bag would be your really elite swimmers, because it does allow you to swim with a longer stroke and really gracefully. But a lot of your super elite swimmers, they're pounding out the really hard yards, the really fast yards. And because of the length of the blade, there's a lot of process time between the actual kick, and you're not going to be able to maintain a 6-beat kick with a fin this length. But for your novice swimmers, it's not only about the kick, it's about developing body balance and symmetry and rotation. It's engaging the legs. It's letting them, travel a little bit faster. So, for your younger swimmers, for your adult fitness swimmers, having a pair of long floating fins is a real, it's one fin that should be in your bag.
Yeah, and even, it's even good outside of the pool too, I imagine, in open water swimming.
Yep.
If people are swimming in the ocean, and it's nice that it floats too in case it comes off. Thanks for that.
Yeah. You can maintain a really good, like a 2 or 3 beat kick per stroke cycle with those. So it develops a little bit of flow. And so you're right. Open water swimming, it tends to be your longer distances. That's a great fin to have.
Great. Well, what would be the next natural progression from the long floating fin if you're getting more into competition, you're getting more into high endurance training? Sure. What are some options that you would consider?
Well, the zoomer used to be the industry standard. And I think it's kind of a shame that we've started to shift away from it, because more often than not, and I'm going to come back to the zoomer, what we're finding is this is the Edge, and all the brands tend to have something similar to that today. And even though it's a really nice fin, here's what it does. It allows you to swim really fast. You have a lot of power. You're going to get in a really good workout with it. The negative side of it is the specificity of what you're trying to achieve. In a longer distance race, your foot isn't that big. You're not going to be moving that much water. So it's giving you a lot of power, but at what point in your training does it have a diminishing return, right? So maybe you can use this fin real effectively for 1,000 meters, but if you adjust it and you use different fins for different purposes, there might come a time that, you should be in a smaller fin. It's not the save all. There's no one fin that does all for everything, which is bringing me back to the zoomer, right? Yeah. So that zoomer, by having, you'll notice that the angle of the blade is actually upward, because you want to catch more power on the up kick than on the down kick. The down kick This fin makes you work really, really hard. There's not a lot of surface area, but on that up kick, it is capturing a lot of water. So you're going to be able to work really hard. And the benefit of the shorter fin is that that pipe that we're trying to swim down, the kick can stay pretty narrow. We can do a 6 or even an 8 beat kick per stroke cycle with a zoomer.
Right.
You can't do that with a bigger fin.
Yeah.
So the zoomer, for specificity, it's going to make you work hard. It's going to give you that little bit of extra power. It's just a great all-around fin for that hard work, but more specific results.
Great. Now, we have obviously 2 fins in the zoomer family, the original zoomers and then the Z2 zoomers. Now, how do these differentiate? What would you suggest, using the Z2 for over the traditional zoomers?
Well, the funny observation I made was that you're catching more water on the up kick, and our feet, even though the zoomer is small like a little foot, your foot has a natural shape to it. So I mean, looking at the way the top of your foot is shaped, the Z2, the intention was in that downward kick, a lot of the water actually rolls off your foot. You're not catching water on the downward kick. So we put this fluid separator on the top, and it actually makes the water even fall off the top of your foot even easier. But then we actually have more surface area on the bottom of the fin than the top of the fin. So this fin on the downward kick in freestyle, the water's coming off the foot real easy. When this one pushes through and you're not thinking about the up kick, this one's capturing a lot of water. So I'm going to give a sports car analysis. If we want to say today, let's drive, 100 miles up to the mountains, and let's go up in the mountains, you probably want to bring your pickup truck,
right?
Something with four-wheel drive
SUV,
right? So you got to bring something beefier and hardier. So that's where I'm going to go with something like a bigger workhorse fin.
Right.
If you wanted to say, hey, we're just going to go, down the road to pick up some new fins, you take the sports car. Yeah. So that these fit more in the sports car category, right? So why are we using, let's translate it again to the underwater portion of the race. If we're a distance swimmer, that underwater portion of the race, it might be more about getting a nice flow off the walls to optimize your turns and your underwaters. If you're a sprint swimmer, it's hard work and it's a narrow pipe. We're just really trying to, put it into 5th gear and win the race. So I think specificity of training is the most important thing I can call out. So the Z2 is definitely your sports car. You could put this on. We can go for a couple 100 miles. Yeah. Where you couldn't do that in one of these other fins.
Sure. That's a great analogy with the automobiles, the cars, which brings us to the edge fin. So you mentioned this briefly. Are there any particular highlights that you want to discuss with this product?
This style fin came originally from the boogie boarding and body surfing industry. Yeah. So when you're out there in the surf, you've got this brief moment to catch the wave where you need as much power as you possibly can to get into the wave, and then you get to ride the wave. Your legs aren't really working anymore. One of those great bodyboarders was also a swimmer. He said, God, I don't understand why they're not using this in swimming. You can go so fast. Yeah. So they literally took a bodyboarding, boogie boarding, body surfing fin and said, let's start using them in swimming. And the swimmers applauded. They're like, heck yeah, I go fast. It's fun going fast. I'm working really hard. There's a lot of benefit to that. The negative part would be is with that much surface area, we've actually built these vents into the fin. And I would assure you this, you could take any of the other fins and put this fin and that fin and have the same person race that fin. And in the shorter distance, 50 meters, 200 meters, maybe even 400 meters, the other fin will be faster. But by the time you're going more than 400 meters, this fin's going to be faster.
Right.
Because it's more efficient. The water that would otherwise is getting caught on the surface area of the fins is going and passing through this fin. So this one is a more efficient fin. So if you're using that style fin and you're using it for distances, you know, hey, we're going to wear them for the next 1,000 meters,
right.
You're going to get the same workout level here, but you're going to be a little bit more efficient. Right. So short burst, but really it is, some people love the workout. They go, God, I really feel the burn to my legs. Some right. people like the speed. The specificity, though, we don't have feet like this. So it's not as relatable as to some of these other fins. And on that note, I'm going to jump to the PDF fin.
Please, yeah.
So the PDF fin is the only fin that's been designed that works for all 4 strokes. So it was intended to be a fin that we could use for IMs. How do we train the IM swimmers? We don't want to break it up and have them change fins. And why do we need to use fins in the first place?
Yeah.
When you use fins, it changes your body position a little bit. It gives you a little bit of extra power. It allows me to train for those specific distances or that specific technique at a little bit different elevated rate. So when you put on a pair of PDF fins, the likelihood of being able to swim 10, 100 IMs with really good technique, it probably goes up. Right. Because I'm giving them a little bit of extra power on all 4 strokes. And it's worn in the position that this would be to the outside of the foot. So it really marries well for a good breaststroke kick. There's no other fin that's safe on your knees to do breaststroke with. But this does allow me to do that. So it's a great breaststroke fin. It's a great IM fin. Some people like it for all 4 strokes, but I think that's, again, it's having that open mind of versatility and specificity of why are we using fins today? What are we trying to achieve? And let's use the right product that's going to give us those desired results. And then we got the monofin because you got to go into the monofin, right? There's a family of monofin products. This one's called the foil. The foil is the most popular of the monofins. There's a fiberglass version that's called the shooter. And there's another rubber fin called the Evo. And the Evo is smaller and it lets you kick at a faster kicking cycle for like full stroke fly. But I think the overall benefit and the reason for holding up this one here, they're all rubber, so it's very durable. They're affordable. And they're safe. This one, you can toss it on the pool deck. It's not going to break. You can pass it around to the different swimmers. It's not going to break. And what do we learn when we're kicking with a monofin? We talked about how do we feel that feeling of power in both directions of our kick? When Pablo first tried the monofin, before we even started the company, he put on a fiberglass monofin and he kicked on his side. And he went down the pool kicking on his side. And his reaction was, wow, you can really feel the power in both directions of the kick differently with a monofin than you can when you're wearing regular fins or no fins at all. Because there's that cubic relationship between speed and resistance. So when you're swimming slowly on your side, doing this side kicking, but you're working on keeping your core engaged and you're keeping an evenness of that flow and you're feeling power in both directions. And that starts to, create some brain training that, there is something different about this style kicking. And when you translate it over to your stomach or your back for, backstroke or fly or any, starts and turns, learning on your side translates when you roll over to your stomach or your back because you remember there's power being generated in both places here. It also teaches you a little bit about the depth. How deep do I want to be on my turns, on my starts? Because there's a diminishing return if you're too close to the surface. There's a diminishing return if you're too far underwater. When you put the monofin on, I think when people are doing dolphin kicking, we want to drive that chest down. We want to take that kick through our hips. We don't want to overbend the legs. And for your younger swimmers, they can fake it without fins. They can fake it with regular fins. But when you put a monofin on, if you're not pushing the chest down and driving through the hips, that's the motion that allows this fin to flow like this. If you're kicking with your knees with a monofin, the fin goes.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
And so we know right away those people that are kicking gracefully, doing nice dolphin kicking
Yeah.
underwater, and those that aren't. So it's really the monofin today, I think, is just it's a teaching tool that I'll say before 1988, most swimmers did flutter kick off their starts and turns.
Yeah.
And today, everyone does dolphin kick. It's faster, but you got to learn technique. So everything's technique driven. It's a little bit about the monofin. That's a little bit about the breadth of the fin line. And there's more to come.